Hi everyone, Anthony Gotano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album, K.G. This is a new full-length LP from Australian psych sorcerers King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, said to be their 16th record, actually, their only studio album in 2020 as well, I believe, though they have been dropping demos and live tracks as well. Plus, it's also a pandemic, so who can really blame them for slowing things down a little bit, especially after having dropped 2 albums last year, and let's not forget that amazing 5-record run back in 2017. So yes, King Gizzard is still one of the most exciting and creative bands out there today, even during these depressing times. And I guess this new project is being subtly billed as the second volume in their ongoing MICROTONAL series, projects where the band is feeling out the notes between the notes in your typical chromatic scale. They did it once before, kicking off that amazing 2017 album run with Flying Microtonal Banana, which still remains one of my favorite Gizzard albums to this day, but after numerous listens, it's pretty clear the sequel isn't quite as great as the original. However, it still has its moments and distinct qualities. For one, I do appreciate the stylistic variety the band tries to bring on this record. You can tell here and there they are trying to push this microtonal thing outside of the straight psych context that it was in on the last record, and that's done with more electronics, more acoustic cuts, the country-tinged honey, as well as the Sabbath worship happening on the closer too, which is packed with all of these Tony Iommi-esque guitar riffs. There are some pretty smooth instrumental passages segueing all of these songs together too, so the album does come off like a somewhat holistic experience, even if you're switching gears pretty radically from track to track. The production is a little rough around the edges, which in the case of King Gizzard isn't necessarily a bad thing. They've been known to do a somewhat lo-fi joint or two, and certainly turn that roughness into a quality, a characteristic that adds to the album experience. But the fact still remains, for me anyway, that this is not a very strong track list from the band. And while another microtonal record sounds great in concept, the devil of this record really is in the details of how each of these tracks individually play out and how they stand in the band's greater discography. K.G.L.W isn't just a short intro to the record, but a great tone setter with these mysterious, plucky acoustic passages and desolate desert woodwinds. There's a real Middle Eastern vibe to it that carries over into the next track, Automation, and while there is an exotic groove to it, the vocals, the deafeningly brutal mix, along with the lyrics about a technological dystopia, leave the song feeling pretty typical for King Gizzard. It's actually kind of predictable by King Gizzard standards, and leaves me feeling a little deja vu too. Thankfully, the band in this record start branching out immediately with Minimum Brain Size. Yeah, while it is more faux exotic psych pastiche, it is attached to a mellower, more hypnotic tune. The hand, drums, and lightly pulsating synths are a nice touch, along with the occasional subtle vocal harmonies and hypnotic guitar passages. It's a jam. Things move in an even more meditative and raw direction on Straws in the Wind, another one of this record's sharp acoustic cuts. The recording is dirty and loaded with ambient noise from wherever the band is laying tape on this thing, especially on the solos. But somehow the sonic aesthetics of this track really play into the song's themes of evil, end times, and life being so fleeting as humanity seems to be on an endless mission to destroy itself. The following Some of Us is a groovy psych jam packed with these relentlessly sour lead melodies that just do not smooth out. I could tell the band is going for something more off-kilter here, which is admirable, but they just give you nothing to chase this melody, to take the edge off of how bitter it comes off. Combine that with the mind-numbing groove coming from the rhythm section, and you have one of the weakest tracks here. Meanwhile, the track Ontology is better in just about every conceivable way. The melody is stickier, the rhythms are peppier, the layering just feels richer. Plus, there are some grand instrumental flourishes popping up here and there that sound like some of Zappa's more orchestrated stuff. Then Intrasport is likely going to generate the most conversation amongst King Gizzard fans because of its very odd combination of influences. The band really laying a lot of sequenced beats and synthesizers into this one, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They they've gone in a more electronic direction before and gotten positive results. I think it's also something they could do more into the future, maybe on an entire record. That might be great. But regardless, I wouldn't use this track as a shining example of King Gizzard making use of synths and beats. In fact, to put it bluntly, I think this song sounds like MGMT trying to do a heavily revised neo-psych version of 9 Inch Nails' Closer, which, yeah, is probably hard to imagine in concept, but that is what it sounds like. And I guess I am a little torn on it. Part of me does admire that it sounds so unique in the band's discography, but simultaneously it is so preposterous in concept and is not pulled off very well either in terms of the performance end. I guess I wish they saved a crossover like this more for a project where the production wasn't going to be so ragtag. Odd Life is a decent jam loaded with glistening synthesizers and sparkling, plucky strings. Is it fine while it's on? Yes, but is it one of the stronger songs here? No. Thankfully, things do pick up a little toward the end on Honey, where the band is trying to work some microtonal colors into more of a country or psych folk context. It works, but mostly by virtue of it just being a very solid song. The fact that it's in 7/8 time and also features some very fluid instrumental bits, that's just a cherry on top. Then the closing track I alluded to earlier is just some very obvious Black Sabbath worship, which wouldn't be so bad if the guitar mix wasn't so deafening. Like, God, I feel like this thing is really taken my eardrums for a frickin' ride. I wish there was more of a balance with the backing instrumentation as well, or I don't know, if the vocals had at least a touch of the drama that Ozzy did. If you're gonna go this far down the Sabbath road, look, it's structurally sound, the riffs are gnarly, but I guess at the end of the day, I just wish it sounded better, or that sonically it reinforced the sounds and ideas of the rest of the record. At the end of the day, this thing really kind of sounds like leftover ideas from the first Microtonal album in 2017. So yeah, I think this is an okay record. If the band decides to dip into the microtonal thing again, I hope they come through with some stronger ideas, a better recording, more memorable songs, and also come through with ways to just expand it so it doesn't sound like they're reiterating what they've always done or just coming through with a weaker version of the same thing. Feeling a strong 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you should check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, King Gizzard, forever.